You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Paula Kendrick will be honored as the individual champion for youth for Saturday's Blue Door Bash as part of the Boys and Girls Club of Carson's annual gala, which will be held at SoFi Stadium. She is the founder of CMP Risk Management Consultants. Through her visionary leadership on the resource development and governance committees, she has spearheaded revenue-boosting initiatives, bringing in historic peer-to-peer funding, and expanding the Boys and Girls Club's ability to serve more kids. Again, full disclosure, I will be the MC for the Blue Door Bash Gala on Saturday evening, and I look forward to meeting Ms. Kendrick in person then. But she joins me now on the show. Ms. Kendrick, a pleasure to meet you this evening. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for that great introduction.
It's your great introduction because it's all about you. And speaking about you, you know a little something about Southern California as a graduate of both Cal Poly Pomona and a certificate in executive leadership from USC's Marshall School of Business. Are you originally from the LA area?
Actually, I'm from Chino. I've been in Long Beach since 1996 and still love it.
What about Long Beach or Chino, Southern California more generally, did you fall in love with? It's one thing to grow up here, but it's another thing to stay here and put roots here and help people right where you are.
You know, it's the only place where you can go to the mountains and the ocean in the same day. You know, the food, I'm a foodie. I love to eat. And there's tons of great restaurants, you know, and the people are just amazing.
Beyond your work with the Boys and Girls Club of Carson, you also served on the board of HFS Adoption and Foster Care, which facilitates the most infant and child adoptions of any private agency here in California. I'm sensing a theme here as it relates to caring about children. Where did that come from?
You know, I have no idea. I have no children of my own. But I've always had an affinity to the youth and developing them. They're drawn to me as well, you know. So I don't know, but that there is definitely a theme there.
What have you noticed, or have you noticed anything which may have changed over the years? You've been here for quite some time, but I would say young people have changed as the world around them has changed. There are more distractions in regard to technology. There are more factors impacting their growth, from, let's say, violence to school shootings. You know, what have you noticed about how youth have changed over the years?
There's so many things. Like you said, the distractions, not playing outside, not having that carefree existence that I experienced as a child, you know, being able to leave the door unlocked. I was a latchkey kid, so we stayed at home, and you really can't do that these days. And it takes so much to survive in this economy that your parents are always at work. And so the kids are basically raising themselves.
You talk about latchkey kid. I know there's someone listening who doesn't know that reference. There was a generation once upon a time where kids had their own keys to the house and they would come and go because parents were at work until maybe 5 o'clock. So kids would walk themselves to school and also walk themselves home, and then get home, turn on the TV, watch the cartoons, but care for themselves in the time between. That's another example of how this world has changed. Now, you may not have any children yourself, but I'm quite sure you may find yourself in these children. What is it you recognize in what young people are looking for today, hungry for, or hoping to find?
You know, there's a hopefulness there, you know, and when I first got involved with the Boys and Girls Club, it was through my friend Paul Trauber, who's the current vice president. He hounded me for years to join this board. And finally, I just gave in, and he invited me to the Youth of the Year competition, and I was completely hooked. But a lot of times I think we don't see ourselves, you know, we don't see our greatness, our goodness, but the kids do, you know, when they were reading their speeches and their essays, which was incredible. I mean, it was like adorable. They're so smart. So driven, but they started asking me questions about myself, and you could just see their eyes light up. And I was like, wow, like I could really do something here, to develop these kids. Outside of supporting the club economically, everybody has a set of skills, gifts that they can share with these kids. And they're really hungry for that. Like I said, I saw a lot of myself in them. So, and I want to help them avoid some of the pitfalls that I encountered, being different triggers and microaggressions and things that a lot of minority youth have to endure in their young lives that will actually carry into their adulthood. You were at the event last year, which was my first event, and you heard young Andrew speak about some of the challenges he has faced. Now, that's a kid that he's from my site that I've adopted, Watts, Markham School, that has tremendous potential. And he talked about, going to a different school in the Valley, I believe it was, and how he was the only African-American student at that school, and something come up missing and they always blamed him, and how that, made him basically suicidal, and I want to bridge some of that too. Like, that is never really going to go away as an entrepreneur. Like, in my work, I'm usually the only woman and the only minority. So those are things that we're going to have to instill in the kids. And a lot of the programs help with that. And then going back to Andrew, he spoke about his experiences and how he was suicidal. He is Youth of the Year 2 times in a row. And one of the deputy councilmen from the Watts district saw him speak at his last competition and was so impressed they were offering him internships. So that is the beauty of this program. Like, I never knew it was so expansive until I got involved. I thought it was just, this is where they go after school, just because their parents are at work or what have you. But they learn tremendous skills, speaking skills, that is a jewel in and of itself. If you can do public speaking, you can do a gamut of things.
You could be a radio host.
You can be a radio host, you can do all kinds of things, but that's a skill that they learn through these programs. They learn to write, and they're very compassionate toward one another. That was one of the things that really affected me, seeing how they supported each other. When Andrew won, all of the contestants just embraced him. There were tears. I mean, it was very emotional for me, and I'm not necessarily an emotional type person.
That's the voice of Paula Kendrick, who will be honored as individual champion for youth for Saturday's Blue Door Bash as part of the Boys and Girls Club of Carson's annual gala. We'll have more with Paula Kendrick in just a moment. This is Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We are live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And I'm right in the middle of a conversation with Paula Kendrick, who will be honored as the individual champion for youth for Saturday's Blue Door Bash Gala as part of the Boys and Girls Club of Carson's annual fundraiser. I will serve as the MC on Saturday. And Paula, let me bring you back into the conversation. You touched upon a number of things last segment, talking about the precarious journey, my phrase, that children may travel on their way to adulthood. And if they should stray off that path, any number of things could happen. That's what I would take from what you said. But also, as part of your work, you've seen the other side of straying from that path, what that could lead to. You've taught for years at the Union Rescue Mission on Skid Row. What fuels your passion is what I would call it for people more generally?
There's really nothing useless in serving other people. You're building communities, you're strengthening families. So I am very much drawn to that. And I just feel like certain people have innate skills in that area, and I've always been drawn to that. And I'm grateful that I have the resources to support a lot of these outreaches and the capacity to do it too.
You live your creed. You are actually walking that path. Your dedication to people, as I would phrase it, extends beyond just Southern California. Your philanthropy has also helped secure funding for clean water for thousands of children and families in Uganda. Please tell me about that.
So I went to Uganda avid traveler. So I was in Uganda gorilla trekking, actually, tracking the gorillas in the forest. And I would see these women and kids walking for miles and miles with these buckets on their heads. And I'm like, where are they coming from? Where are they going? And so the gentleman that was driving us said, oh, they're going to get water. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I saw where they were drawing this water from. I'm still to this day stunned that they're drinking that, and so it really bothered me. And I started talking more with some of the local people and the driver about it. And they were directing me to people that could help me help the community. So we put one well in one of the villages there, and the well serves about 1,000 people.
That is amazing. And I want to somehow, and I want to let you do it, I want you to combine what your vocation is as far as risk management with what I think is your invocation, your love and desire to help people. How do you blend, or how does it come together? How does it meet?
So what I do in this company, or what we do here, is we manage risk for larger insureds, group captives, that kind of thing, and with a primary emphasis in workers' compensation. So that's a huge expense on the P&L for a lot of these companies. And if that exposure isn't managed correctly, they spend a lot more money funding that line of insurance.
Let me jump in there, just because we can't assume everyone's taking accounting like you and me. Profit and loss, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And so what we do is manage that population of claims so effectively that their insurance premiums are reduced. What that does is it puts more liquidity into the company, into the employees, into benefits for them, et cetera, et cetera.
There's nothing useless in serving others. I remember you said something to that effect, and I saw you light up when you say that. What is a good day for you? Is it helping someone? Is it a specific result with a company? What makes you light up?
Food. You want to get on my good side? Bring me some food. That's one thing, but affecting someone's bottom line, in a positive way. And a lot of times I don't even really know that I'm doing that. So eliminating a concern for an employer, eliminating a concern for a parent, a student, community, those are the things that really drive me.
Food and helping others. We're down to those two things.
And travel. I love travel.
And travel. Okay. Do you have a favorite continent or a favorite location?
I think once you've been to Africa, it's life changing. I've been to a lot of places, and every time I think of Africa and the African continent, it's just a stunning landscape. I will never forget ascending into the Serengeti and seeing like animals just everywhere, so I think that has left a lasting impression on me. And I almost bought some property in Cape Town. I loved it so much. But then I thought, realistically, how often am I going to get over there? So
wise words from someone who's dedicated her life to helping people right wherever they are. She is Paula Kendrick, and she will be honored as the individual champion for youth for Saturday's Blue Door Bash as part of the Boys and Girls Club of Carson's annual Blue Door Bash Gala. And it'll be held this Saturday at SoFi Stadium. I'll be there as the MC. But for more information, you can go to bgccarson.org for more information. Ms. Kendrick, it's a pleasure to meet you, at least informally. I know we probably crossed paths last year at the Blue Door Bash, but now I get to really make your acquaintance this Saturday. Congratulations to you, and much more success to you.
Thank you for this platform.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
I wanted to circle back to a conversation that we have been having about Beyonce's foray into country music. We knew that Beyonce may do something like this because she's never won Album of the Year. And I know Tuwala thought that if you were to do a country album, it could spark the imagination of at least Grammy Academy voters to consider her for Album of the Year. Now, the CMAs, they said, no. Not only was she not nominated, more and more people are speaking out. And I say this knowing full well that the Cowboy Carter album received a lot of country music airplay, but without going into all the inner machinations of how airplay actually works, and it's not a function of people calling in and request the song, just know that don't equate airplay with awards. That's the first thing. And we also said the last time we talked about this, about whether Beyonce was actually snubbed or the reasons behind it. I made the argument that Beyonce did not do what she needed to do as an artist to provide what we call artist support for records at these various stations. I talked about how artists usually, when they're supporting a record, they will go to the station and do interviews. I mean, each and every station, they will do flyaways, they'll do promotions and giveaways. That is what we call supporting the music at the station. In other words, the stations which play the music get something out of it. And you endear yourself to not only the station, its listeners, but the larger music community for that genre. Beyonce, for the most part, didn't do it. She basically dropped off the music and through promotions channels got the music played, but did not provide the artist support that radio stations would need or want. And Luke Bryan is now weighing in on this conversation surrounding Beyonce's lack of CMA award nominations for her Cowboy Carter album. And this is what Luke Bryan had to say, quote, "It's a tricky question because obviously Beyonce made a country album and Beyonce has a lot of fans out there that have her back. And if she doesn't get something they want, man, they come after you as fans should do. Just because she made one, as in a country album, just because I make one, I don't get any nominations," close quote. What do you think about this, Tawala, as far as Beyonce? We agree on her not getting the CMA nominations, but as to why, do you agree with me?
I agree because I agree with Luke Bryan, and this is something that we have been saying all along. Beyonce can do whatever she wants. This is not, and at no point has been about us saying she cannot do a country album, because she did it and her fans love it. But country fans looked at it as, okay, Beyonce, who we all know and love for the music Beyonce does, did a country album, but she's never once in her career done anything to embrace the country music community. So we're looking at it like, okay, that was cool. That was novel. That was a novelty album. You're not seriously coming into this world. And Luke Bryan is acknowledging the fact that if Beyonce wanted to be taken seriously, she needed to make herself available and become a part of the country world. Bryan went on to say, quote, "Everybody loved that Beyonce made a country album. Nobody's mad about it. But where things get a little tricky, if you're going to make country albums, come into our world and be country with us for a little bit. Like, Beyonce can do whatever she wants. She's probably the biggest star in music, but come to an award show and high five us and have fun and get to know the family too." And I'm not saying that she didn't do any of that, but country music is a lot about family. And I don't know if country radio or the country music audience looked at her as if she was really trying to become part of the family, or if she was trying to get some level of award recognition on a larger scale. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand about Beyonce's country album and why it wasn't nominated.
Yeah, the country music genre is much more closed in that family type setting where everyone knows everyone. Rap is less like that. Let me make a parallel. You can have an artist like Macklemore who has a hit and can even win a Grammy award, but is not going to be accepted within the rap family specifically, because I see it as cultural tourism. You know, you are borrowing from the genre. You're not part of the genre. And Beyonce, bless her heart, is not part of the country genre. She just did some country songs and they were played on the radio, but no one perceives her as a country artist. And I don't think anyone legitimately thinks that she was trying to immerse herself in the country family.
Yeah. And I really take umbrage at individuals who are trying to say that it was because she was black. When you look at someone like Shabuzi, who has the bar song, the Tipsy, I call it the Tipsy remake, but the Tipsy song, and he is widely accepted by country. You have someone like
Darius Rucker, Reese Palmer.
Darius Rucker, you know, saying, so that's exactly where I was going, who is probably more well known within the country world than he is in that what was it, maybe smooth rock that he was when he was with Hootie and the Blowfish. It's one of those that, again, you look at someone who for their entire career has been known widely within the realm of R&B, has never done anything country until she came out with, what was it, that Daddy's Girl performance with the Dixie Chicks, I believe it was.
Yep.
And that was one of those, oh, that's interesting. But it was interesting, like Nelly coming out and doing a rap song at the Country Music Awards. Nelly wasn't all of a sudden welcomed into the country world and saying, hey, Nelly, you're one of us, even though Nelly has always embraced what? Country grammar. There are fine lines to this. And when it comes to music being accepted, it is the exact same as, and tell me when this happens, if Taylor Swift does a rap album, let's see how many awards she wins for that. Right. Probably none, because people will look at that as like, okay, Taylor Swift is rapping, good for her. Not going to be nominated for any rap awards. Sorry. And
Taylor Swift would probably get a lot of airplay, and I don't want to get too inside baseball with radio stations, but she would get a lot of play on CHR stations and crossover stations, but would not get the airplay on the true urban stations and would not get the true love from the urban music genre. Now, will people push her away? No, but they wouldn't readily accept her. And her fans would clamor for it, but it wouldn't mean it would be recognized with the awards, like you were saying, Paula. And this is something which people sometimes forget. Taylor Swift, to your point, was originally a country artist. It's about how people first know you and come to know you and how they will continue to support you. Macklemore, I don't know where he is now, but he's not doing anything in rap music. And that kind of like confirms the point. Beyonce, when she's done with this album, I don't know if she's going to do anything else in country because it feels contrived. Like it's for a Grammy album of the year. I may be wrong, but I doubt it. Yeah, no, it definitely feels like that. And I know, to Beyonce's credit, she said that she was very serious about that. And I don't doubt her for a minute. And this is something that I don't even think Beyonce is unaware of. This is more for those who are unaware and the fans who are screaming at radio stations and screaming at Country Music Awards. It's like, you all have to understand that there are levels to how the music industry works. You're hearing it from two individuals who have worked long hours, days, weeks, years in the music industry. So we have a little bit of an idea of what we are talking about. I can tell you for a fact, when not Taylor Swift, it was Britney Spears. Britney Spears had dropped, I think it was a Pharrell remix of one of her songs, and the promotions department from her label brought it to our station, which was a hip hop R&B station. And we looked at that record like it was a lead fart. Why? Because it's not going to go off well with our audience. Yes, they may know who Britney Spears is, but there's no way they want to hear Britney Spears music over someone like a Beyonce. It's Later with Mo Kelly. When we come back, we're going to close with thoughts on Jonathan Majors having a reprieve with one of his projects, which was shelved. Will this breathe new life into his career or further confirm that he is yesterday's news?
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI AM 640 is later with Mo Kelly live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. You may not have heard about the movie called Magazine Dreams because it never got released. It was shelved in the wake of the allegations, which turned into an eventual criminal conviction of actor Jonathan Majors. His brand was toxic. For how long, no one was sure. But now it seems like someone is at least going to get an opportunity to find out if his brand, the Jonathan Majors name, can make money or whether he is a bankable commodity. Now, Magazine Dreams has finally received a new distributor and release window, and it's been 8 months since it had any shot of being released to the general public. Jonathan Majors stars as a troubled, aspiring bodybuilder who continues to take steroids despite his doctor's warnings that they are destroying his liver, alongside a cast that also includes Haley Bennett, Taylor Page, Michael Hearn, a bunch of people we never heard of. So it's going to live and die relative to Jonathan Majors. I don't know if Jonathan Majors will ever become the star that he was originally on the path to becoming. I don't know if he'll ever be able to get that back. I'm not talking about the Marvel deal. I'm just talking about the trajectory of superstardom that he was on. Because many times it's more than just your talent. It's more timing as well. He's no less talented now than he was then. He's just perceived very differently. And we all know that he has the talent. But I don't know if people will ever see him the same way. And honestly, I'm not so interested in seeing Magazine Dreams. And that's anecdotal. I'm just one person. I'm not a bunch of people. But I wonder if anyone will care about what Jonathan Majors does next. Maybe I'm wrong. T?
No, and this is almost like a testing the waters release. And I believe that because it's not being released by a major studio. It was dropped from Disney subsidiary 20th Century Fox, I believe.
Fox Searchlight
was the company that, or Searchlight was going to put it out, and because Disney parted ways with him from his role as Kang, they said, we're also not going to be a part of distributing this Magazine Dreams. Now it's being picked up by, what is it, Briarcliff?
Who exactly?
Briarcliff Entertainment,
right? Exactly.
Okay?
Who are they?
And who is that except for the company that's also the distributor of the Donald Trump dramatization, The Apprentice? So this is a company that is practicing in putting out controversial projects, kind of to see what people think and to, shock the world or whatever. So this is more of a, hey, we may be able to do something with this, but does this company have enough strength behind to really get this film in theaters, to get people to see it to the point where it's going to make a difference in his relative exodus from Hollywood? I don't know if this is going to be the one.
Yeah, and part of the issue, I think, is they have to rehab his persona, his profile, but the only way that can be done, I think, is through Jonathan Majors. We're not talking about someone who just chose to leave the scene. We're talking about someone who was convicted of assaulting his ex-girlfriend. And it's going to require us liking the person as well as liking the talent. What I mean by that, it's different from, let's say, Robert Downey Jr., where he got into all this trouble, but it wasn't like he was hurting people or perceived as physically hurting people. So then they could just look at it from a talent perspective. Oh, wow, he was great in Iron Man. I loved Iron Man. Robert Downey Jr.'s back. I don't think it's going to be the same. And you've seen this, and this is, again, another example of there is no cancel culture. Jonathan Majors will have a career. He will get jobs. He will do things. I just don't think he will do on the level that he was doing or was expected to do. The same is true for Kevin Spacey. The same is true for any of these other actors who are quote unquote canceled, but they eventually come back. Like a Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson is still acting. He'll never be what he was. Part of that is age, but part of that is also, people are not going to offer him the types of roles that he originally had. And I think that's true with Jonathan Majors. And you only have a small window to be a superstar in Hollywood, with the exception of people like Tom Cruise who go against, all type of rules, the exception which proves the rule. Jonathan Majors, I think, missed his shot. And I don't know if this movie, and he's welcome to prove me wrong, I don't know if this movie will be enough to put him back on that trajectory. And I think it's still going to be a long, long process. But tomorrow, what's coming up tomorrow? For those who want to go to the party, we tried to tell you earlier, if you want to come to the exclusive pre-Halloween soiree, you know what you need to do, and you know when you need to do it. Because only listeners of Later with Mo Kelly will be joining us. So we'll see you tomorrow. It's Later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Perfect for achy, indecisive minds. KFI's cooling Info Gel quickly relieves ignorance and leaves a minty fresh scent.
KFI
and KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live.